Usually when you see us out here covering weather, we're in rain, we're in snow, we are in wind, but today, I'm proud to say when I got the weather assignment, it is absolutely gorgeous, and you don't need to take my word for it. Take a look at some of the video we shot just a little bit ago. Brianne tells me she hopes to graduate high school by the time she's 16, so she can start pursuing her dream of becoming a U.S. Air Force fighter pilot. In Compton, Lora McLaughlin, KCAL 9 News. All morning long, firefighters have been working hard to set backfires like the one you see behind us. What they're hoping is that this fire will meet the one that started burning Wednesday and extinguish it. I'm Lora McLaughlin live at Neverland Ranch. There are more than 2,000 fans here right now where a party's going on. I'll tell you who got in, who didn't, and what happened behind the gates coming up. Ready, guys? Go! It's a snowball fight. Live from the Angeles National Forest, Lora McLaughlin, KCAL 9 News. Back to you. Wow! For the past 8 years, the kids have been playing on this, which is great for your backyard at home, but when it comes to servicing about 100 students a day, well, it's just not doing the job. Unfortunately, the replacement comes at a huge price. What's in a name? Well, the folks at Ralph say absolutely nothing. In fact, the only thing you need to make sure the turkey says is grade A. And if it doesn't turn out,
it's the cook's fault.
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. Iola's attorney calls the charges ridiculous and says she is anxious to be brought here to California. In fact, he's hoping to have her transferred to San Jose by the end of the week. Now, after a long series against the Yankees, let's only hope the team has that much enthusiasm heading into tomorrow. And as of right now, we understand the Angels are already flying back to the Windy City. Oh, muy bien, y tú? Perfect. I'm sticking with you. Excuse me. All right, we'll stick with this one.
The Leprechanos, please.
He says that Osborne attacked Tab and then kicked her sister. Now, both Osborne and Tab have filed their own separate police reports, both claiming to be the victim. In West Hollywood, Lora McLaughlin, CBS 2 News. When we found out it was the back of the truck, I got to tell you, we were a little relieved, although it is still a bad accident. 5 people injured total. That includes the folks on the train, the folks here on the ground. No life-threatening injuries, although 5 people have been transported. Remarkably, the truck driver is out of the car right now. In fact, police tell us they're actually interviewing that truck driver, trying to figure out exactly what happened here. Minutes after receiving a tip from a resident, deputies caught their man sitting in a tree in Placerita Canyon.
He was just sitting up there smoking a cigarette, looking at us. So I just happened to look up there, and there he was.
Helicopters and search dogs combed the canyon near Running Horse Road for hours looking for the man suspected of kidnapping and sexually assaulting a 21-year-old woman. Deputies say the biggest tip came from this man who lives in the area.
And I saw the guy on the side of the road.
What was he doing? Did he look like he was running, walking?
Out of breath, he sat down, waited till I drove by, looked at me, and then I guess took off.
The search started after a woman was attacked in her car at this Newhall Burger King on Lyons Avenue. Sergeant Carrie Stewart tells me it happened around 5 a.m. this morning.
She was seated in her locked car, and he approached her, broke out the window of the driver's side, and proceeded to get in the car, overpowering her.
Stewart says the woman was lost and had pulled into the parking lot to call for directions. That's when the suspect kidnapped her and drove her to an unknown location.
And that's where the sexual assault took place.
The suspect then drove her to Placerita Canyon in Santa Clarita, disabled her car so she wouldn't be able to follow him, then took off on foot. The victim made her way to a nearby house and called for help. Around 50 officers took part in the search, as well as one very alert resident. Thinking about changing your career now?
Oh, I always wanted to do law enforcement.
They should have shot him in the legs to get him down.
We warned him.
Why the chest? And 6 times? 1 time in the chest. But 6 times? That's ridiculous.
Tonight, distraught family members of 34-year-old Richard Garcia are trying to come to grips with his death.
I hope whoever did it, I hope they rest in peace.
Confused and upset, they can't understand why sheriff's deputies gunned him down here at the corner of Via Campo and Sadler in East L.A. around 1:40 this afternoon.
I told 3 officers my brother's sick. He needs medical assistance. Please help him. He needs to go to the hospital.
But officers say they weren't aware of any mental problems when they received the 911 call for help.
The first deputy to arrive was told by the victim that he had just been stabbed by his brother and that his brother had left the location walking in this direction.
The officers who caught up with Garcia here say he was armed with a knife.
The deputies ordered the suspect to drop the knife, and instead he turned and rushed at the deputies. Deputies, fearing for their lives at that point, fired on the suspect, striking him.
He was like, brrr, brrr.
Carlos Gomez and Sylvia Torres, who were only a few feet away when the confrontation began, tell a much different story.
Suddenly we see this guy coming out. Well, I didn't see him with any gun or knife or anything.
He didn't do anything.
I just heard one officer just saying stop, and I guess he didn't stop, and it was just like a rampage of bullets just going through his body.
They shot him a lot of times. They shot him in the head, I think in his arm, I don't know where else.
Officials say the deputies feared for their life and were just following department policy when they fired. And although Garcia's family admits he'd been in trouble with the law in the past, they say he didn't deserve this.
My brother was lovable, respectful, kind-hearted.
For the past 2 years, kids at the Rise and Shine preschool in Newhall have been filling up an old water jug with spare change. What was that money supposed to be for?
The new playground.
A new playground is a big deal to preschoolers, so you can only imagine how disappointed they were to find out their original jar had been stolen. What did you think when you heard the jar was stolen?
Sad. I thought that we'll never get that money back.
School director Michelle Dupree says the robbery happened sometime over the weekend. Now, in addition to a broken window in her office, she's left with dozens of broken hearts.
I had a little girl that came in yesterday to put her money in the jar and asked me where the jar was, and I told her that somebody had taken it, and she asked me if they had taken her money too. How do you explain to them that somebody took all your hard work and your money?
For the past 8 years, the kids have been playing on this, which is great for your backyard at home, but when it comes to servicing about 100 students a day, well, it's just not doing the job. Unfortunately, the replacement comes at a huge price.
This one's $14,000.
$14,000.
That's just for the play structure.
Along with the $1,500 worth of coins, the thief also stole hopes and dreams. What would you like on the playground?
Monkey bars, a tree house, a slide.
Thanks to the kindness of strangers who've heard the news and have decided to donate their own collection of coins, the jar is once again filling up. What about catching the guy who stole it?
I hope the police catches him and put him in jail.
All right, guys, here we go.
It takes some sailors years to get their sea legs, but not United States Marine Eric Alva. Although this is his first time sailing, he was already joking about having an advantage.
Yeah, I already have my sea leg. I was ready for the trip.
Alva's sea leg is actually a computerized artificial limb. This has been his right leg since he lost his own while fighting in Iraq last year.
I got injured the first day of the war last year. I stepped on a landmine that was outside of my vehicle.
Another first-time sailor, Derek Hurt, a U.S. Army sniper, has a similar story to tell.
I was injured in Mosul, Iraq, just driving through an alley, and they decided to start tossing grenades and shooting RPGs at us when we drove by.
Although they have a lot in common, they only met a couple of days ago when they were brought together by Access to Sailing and Disabled Sports USA.
Ah, see.
Their whole life is turned upside down, and they need something that shows them that there is a life after disability. And
Come and fall off like that. And
Kirk Bauer of Disabled Sports USA knows what it's like to be injured in combat. He lost his leg while fighting in Vietnam. He tells me the program has helped him realize his full potential.
any sport will work. It's as long as it hooks the person and gets them excited about life again.
On board, there's nothing these two soldiers can't do. In fact, their only concern is making sure that their artificial limbs don't get wet. What would happen if you got it wet?
They'd probably destroy it.
A couple dozen soldiers who were injured in Iraq and Afghanistan were flown to Long Beach to take part in this event.
If I can do this, I can do anything. You know.
Out on the water, it's not about what they've been through, but rather where they're headed. So Derek, how's this working out for you, buddy?
It's pretty good. I think I should have joined the Navy.
In Long Beach, Lora McLaughlin, CBS 2 News.